All right. With over 15 years of coaching experience, Paul Salter has personally coached over 2,500 clients. He is an expert in helping you get out of your own way and stop self-sabotage at the source, which I'm really excited to dig into that. Please, let's come back to that. Trained by world-class mentors, his unique coaching system leverages 15 years of coaching with an emphasis on hypnosis, subconscious reprogramming, mindset shift training, and proven strategies to unstuck yourself, which made me smile. So, our guest is here to help us break through limiting beliefs, overcome mental roadblocks, and conquer the fears that are holding you back from really unlocking that full potential. And so, we're so excited to have you, Paul. Welcome.
Lindsay, it's my pleasure. I'm excited. I love the energy already.
Yes, me as well. I think this is fun, and our audience should know this because I don't know if they're going to gather this from you as we continue to talk. But we both started with the same profession in dietetics. We're both dietitians, and yet here we are doing different fun things with our skills. So, how did that happen for you? Where did you initially start in dietetics, and then how did you get here?
Yeah, so I originally began with the big dream goal of being a sports dietitian in the NFL. Now, when I was
Mm.
going through all of my dietetic work, as crazy as this sounds now, there were only seven full-time dietitians across professional sports. Now
Whoa.
every team has one to three. So you can imagine back then it seemed like a pipe dream, but that was my goal. And it led me to a path of working very closely at the collegiate level. I was at UNC Chapel Hill with their dietitians for a while, and then spent time at a place called IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida, which is more or less an elite training facility for high school, collegiate, professional, and Olympic athletes. So although I never went to the NFL route, the early part of my dietetic career was with elite athletes. But what was really interesting to me is, these are the best individuals in their respective sports. They too knew what to do from the nutrition side of things. But for their own reasons, fears, beliefs, and behavior patterns, they struggled to do it consistently. And this quickly opened my eyes to it's not a lack of knowledge problem, especially today. There's no shortage of information. When someone knows what to do but doesn't do it, that's a mindset problem. And that really began to serve as the foundation, not only of my coaching, but a springboard into what it is I do today.
Hmm. It's so good. I'm so excited that we're having this chat today. You're going to unlock some amazing pieces. I had a physician once tell me it was from a Chinese proverb, to know and not do is to not know. And this
Mm.
is where you're going with this today. Because now we can know that. We can know that we don't know. And then what, right? Then we hear these things like limiting beliefs or that you're self-sabotaging. And I feel like everybody's so uniquely different on where their hangups, their glitches are, that I would love to hear what is your springboard, your jump off point with a client to even start to bring them into this land of we got to dig something up. We got to figure something out.
Well, after creating a space of trust, safety, to create that safe space for vulnerability, I become a master of a million questions. And I
Mhm.
describe my coaching style as candidly compassionate. I'm going to ask the direct questions that make my individual clients uncomfortable because there's always truth underneath that discomfort. So, you mentioned that we all kind of see these challenges and sabotaging behaviors differently. And you're absolutely right. For some people, it's that all or nothing mindset, it's that attachment to results, or in our previous world, the freaking scale. It is the perfectionism, the procrastination, the anxiety in social situations. But although these symptoms present differently for everybody, it always comes down to their core beliefs. So every single one of us has three core beliefs about ourselves. Am I worthy? Am I deserving? And am I capable? This could be about success. It could be about a number on the scale. It could be how confident or sexy I feel, how much money I make, how lovable I am. The big uphill battle here is that by the age of 7, roughly 95% of our core beliefs are formed, which means for you listening, you had no say in your belief system. Yet you are also the only person who can do something about it.
Yeah, wow. That's yes, keep going. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So people always hear that, like, okay, limiting beliefs, that word, that concept's thrown around. Like, what is a belief? So the way I like to describe and define a belief is a lens through which you see the world. It acts as a filter through which you make decisions and take action. So anytime an event, an outcome, a circumstance unfolds, something is triggered within you. That trigger is detonating first an emotion. An emotion is literally just energy in motion. But that energy in motion, it's almost like putting on a set of glasses unique to you, your experiences, and your upbringing. It drastically influences what you see happening in that event, what you take away from it. I mean, you know as well as I do, we could experience the same event and walk away with two totally different perspectives, stories, and learning lessons. And that's rooted in our own unique upbringing and experience. So that's what a belief is. It's our lens. And our lenses are designed to protect us. And many people don't realize this. I always laugh when I talk about this because we're so far removed, but we're a very tribal species. Thousands of years ago, we literally died if we were rejected, judged, or abandoned by our tribe. We either starved to death, and we know that's not a threat now for 99% of the world, or that saber-toothed tiger had a delicious lunch. And as crazy as it sounds now, that visceral fear and threat of abandonment is just as raw and prominent as ever before. It's hardwired into our DNA. So our belief system begins to form around how can I make sure I feel like I belong? I'm accepted, I'm connected, I get all of those human and those particularly childhood needs met to thrive and develop as a human being.
Mm-hmm. This is so good. I'm jotting down as we go. Can you give us an athlete example? Let's just stick with that population for a second and walk us through how that belief system, like one example of that belief system stopping them. Just kind of this chunking down, because I think our listeners are hearing and they're going, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And then give me exactly how to plug that into a scenario.
Yeah, so I'm going to start a bit general and I'll go specific. Think about it like this. I want to speak to your community first, and then we'll go a couple of routes. Like if you and your core group of family and friends, the five people you spend the most time with, if you are all collectively, and I'm storytelling here and I'm generalizing, but if you are all overweight, unhealthy, stressed, anxious, without any exercise regimen, and you make poor nutrition choices, and then that's how you've just known life and built relationships. And suddenly you begin to walk your own path and you start to prioritize self-care. Maybe that means rather than the family dinner out at the fast food restaurant, you start to cook in. Maybe it means rather than Sunday activity A, B, or C, you're going on a walk or you're going to the gym. Suddenly you're walking your own path that's creating literal and metaphorical space between you and your tribe, which creates a sense of threat because on one hand, your tribe might begin to develop resentment, jealousy, envy, and that might start a cascade of passive aggressive remarks, rude remarks, or just straight blatant, candid, nasty remarks even, because they feel threatened. So what do? Rather than continuing to walk your path towards self-care, feeling, looking, being your best, you might start to dim your light again. You might pull back just because you don't want to feel abandoned or rejected by your tribe. We see this play out all the time. We see it especially in youth sports. If we go back to the athletic population, when an individual starts succeeding and performing better than their peer group, maybe they're on the verge of that travel team, that AAU team, or I work with a lot of golfers, they're on the verge of getting their pro card, their tour status. It's like, you have to really edit or audit some of those relationships of the people you spent a lot of time with previously because they're not a part of your next journey. But again, we're such a tribal species. That's really challenging. Even when we know it's the right decision, it's in our DNA to want to stay connected, which poses a myriad of self-sabotaging behaviors that need to be addressed and worked through.
Ah, this is so good. And I think it's like one of the most unexpected pieces of a health journey and transformation because we feel like when we change, when we shift, when we lose weight, all these goods are going to come from it, all these good
Mhm.
feelings, these compliments, these. And then to your point, holy cow, sometimes the people that we love most are the people who start to cheer us on that can also pull back and start to make the comments. That everything you
Yeah.
said, I'm just like, you are naming my individual clients' experiences. And I think that for somebody else to go, that's he went straight there. That's so interesting because that
Yeah.
was like the last thing on my mind. And now it's something
Yeah.
I'm battling. So
Yeah.
beautifully said. Thank you. Okay, so
Absolutely.
you you set us up here. So now we can understand why we're doing some of this, like why the self-sabotage might be starting to happen. What would that now look like in that same first scenario of somebody who is on the health track and they're going, uh-oh, this doesn't feel as good as I thought it was going to feel.
Yeah, so we got to dig in, and this is where the game of a million questions come into play. Like, let's get very clear. What are you feeling right now? Are you feeling, anxious, alone, fearful, worried, angry, sad? And it's probably multiple of those to be candid. But we start to name the emotion to be able to literally create space to understand like it's a malleable collection of energy. We can do something about it. We can let it pass. We can work with it. But let's go a little deeper, and we'll focus on fear. Like, what are you fearful of? Am I going to lose? I saw it all the time. I've worked with thousands of women, marriages, when the wife or the woman in this case starts bettering herself and the husband is jealous, resentful, or envious, then it creates passive aggression tension there. Who you thought is your biggest supporter suddenly it feels like an enemy, and that's not a good feeling. So what are you afraid of? Being abandoned, being rejected, being judged, being alone. We've got to get clear on the fear. And then we have to really attack that fear. How much of that is true, realistic, or potentially could happen? And candidly, maybe a lot of it could. Maybe it does go down the divorce route. Maybe you do have to leave your friend group or find another tribe. Why are you automatically saying that's a bad outcome? Sure, it might be uncomfortable. It might be hard. I don't want to take away from that. Yet, if it leads you to a group of people where you thrive, you belong, and you feel more connected, fulfilled, and authentic than ever before, I'm pretty sure you would enjoy that. Yeah, the process getting there might not be that great, but in the end, that's what you're looking for is that deep sense of belonging with the right people. So we begin to unpack and get clear on what's really at play here, the fear, the beliefs, and from there, all fears, all beliefs, they're learned, which means they can be unlearned. And that's where and why I'm very biased, I'll say, but we bring in hypnosis to the equation. Hypnosis is a fast, research-backed, and effective method to identify and begin unlearning the fears, beliefs, and behaviors that are keeping you stuck from feeling, being, and just doing the best you absolutely can.
So walk us through that, like, because I think people have this old version of hypnosis. And
Yeah.
when the word even comes up, we all picture the like, look into my eyes, right? Debunk that for us. Like, give us a
Yes.
real session. Why and how?
Happily. Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
People are going to think I'm going to get you to cluck like a chicken, Lindsey, or put you to sleep. And
Yes.
no, that stage hypnotism you've seen at a comedy show on a cruise ship. Technically, it is hypnosis. It's nothing like what I do with my clients. And I think it's important to always educate first.
Mhm.
Hypnosis is not magic. It's not mind control. It's not brainwashing. Every step of the way, you're awake, you're alert, you're conscious, you're in control. Hypnosis is literally a natural state of mind that you, me, everybody listening has been in multiple times today. It's just a fancy word to describe a type of brainwave you're producing at any given moment, theta brainwave in this case. It's the same state of mind you're in the moment you transition from sleeping to waking, when you're caught up in a good book, podcast, TV show, or you find that flow state on a project you love. So I say that first and foremost just to lead with how natural, how safe it is to build a little more familiarity. Now, the big benefits derived are twofold. When we go into hypnosis intentionally, number one, we quiet that harsh inner critic, that judgmental voice within all of us. So that noise and negativity is silenced. But number two, we then connect with your subconscious mind. 95% of what you and I do every day is influenced by our subconscious mind. It's home to our memories, our emotions, our beliefs, and our habits. So through this process, we can begin to uncover when, why, how did you learn the specific fear of abandonment, rejection, judgment, whatever it is. And then we can do the work necessary to begin unlearning that belief and their accompanying behaviors. The immediate byproduct, Lindsey, is energy. And now we suddenly have energy that's been so repressed and stuck for so long that we can use it to build a new belief, a new set of complementary behaviors that are in line with you becoming the best version of you.
Wow. Okay. So let's take it outside of health and fitness for a minute,
Mhm.
because this might resonate initially more with somebody and then we'll bring it back. But give us a business client who's stuck on money. Like maybe they're not making what they could be making
Mhm.
because they don't know this, but they have some limiting belief system that they aren't worthy of it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about client Caitlin. She grew up with a single mom, never knew her dad. Mom worked 3 jobs. Mom was doing all she can just to put food on the table. She always had enough just to get by, never really anything she wanted, but always what she needed. As you can imagine, mom was more or less stuck in a stressed, anxious fight or flight response 24/7, working these multiple jobs, trying to provide as a single mother. She also had a propensity to badmouth people with money. The typical, it sounds cliche, but rich people are jerks, wealthy people are evil, and much worse language that I probably shouldn't share on your podcast. But you get the point. So, as you can imagine, there's this concept out there, and I got this from Ed Milet, famous author, podcaster. It's not mine, but he calls it your emotional home. And basically, the concept is the 2 to 3 core emotions that are most prevalent in your home environment growing up. They are so familiar by the time you become an adult that your subconscious, which is wired to keep you safe by creating familiarity, predictability, and comfortability, will go out of its way to get its fix of emotions, just like a drug junkie. So in this case, Caitlin is wired to seek anxiety, stress, scarcity, lack, because that's all she ever knew. But what's interesting with Caitlin, just like her mother, tenacious work ethic, incredibly ambitious, and with different opportunities and different skill sets, she went the entrepreneurial route. Yet Caitlin started to run into an invisible ceiling because she understood what to do to scale her business. But in the back of her mind, there's this lack of safety having more money. It's almost a sense of it feels disrespectful to out earn her mom. Her mom sacrificed so much. She doesn't know who she is without lingering anxiety, lack, and scarcity. So we had to really, step one, start to create safety, scaling and growing. Step two, remove and reduce these emotions. And then three, detach. Those beliefs weren't hers. They were her mom's. There was this existential threat. If I have a lot of money, mom's going to abandon me. Mom's going to think I'm a rich jerk. And I don't want that. Mom's the most important person in my life. So we had to unlearn and reframe a lot of this so she felt safe scaling her business to the next level.
Thank you. Beautifully stated. Because now I think it's like this really easy transition over to same thing in the health and like somebody bettering their body or bettering their mindset around food, fitness, but come from parents who were maybe not role modeling that. Can you pull another example? You're really good at this. I'm putting you on the spot today.
Yeah, well, I worked with a lot of people, so they made my lives easier. But
Yeah.
a client and good friend comes to mind, and this sounds silly to say out loud, and I say that because she led with that when she was telling me she hadn't seen a bagel until she was 15 years old. Carbs weren't allowed in the house, like traditional stereotypical starches and grains. So this poor girl goes her whole life not really knowing what bagels and certain types of pastries and breads and desserts are. She was just so restricted. And she still describes it. I believe she was on a camping trip with a friend, and the friend's mom brings out bagels for breakfast. And she literally felt like dumbstruck. What is this? She doesn't know. She's clueless. But as you can also imagine, restriction, resistance creates that urge, in this case, to binge. And it's not just specific to food. But as you can imagine, she got a literal, in this sense, taste of a bagel and those accompanying carbohydrates, things that were restricted she'd never heard of. And it just set the course for a terrible relationship with food for the next 10 years, binging, purging, fat burning. I use air quotes here if you're listening, supplements and everything in between. And we really got to understand when we got to the core of what was going on is A, this restriction for so long. B, her whole upbringing was rooted in rigidity and structure, that there was a little, we call her the inner rebellion in her that just needed to rebel, have a taste, again, literally and metaphorical, of freedom. And we had to take back control from, in this case, that inner child, that inner rebel, to help her understand that she could control when and when she would not indulge in things she enjoyed, and do so in a way that helped her to feel her best.
Mhm. Right. Oh my goodness. How does the safety piece still continue to come in? Like, I think that the client could understand, I need safety. I need to feel it. I need to not feel deprived. But how is that continuing to play out? Like when you leave a session, does it look like a specific goal that's supposed to happen, or like you're supposed to approach some different actionable steps? Like how do you leave and then come back to other sessions and tweak and move on again?
That's a great question. So I always work in packages of calls for that point. Hypnosis can be very powerful in a one-off setting, but I don't like that because there still always is a complementary application integration process. So my clients always leave with what I call homework, action steps, just like you described, that allows them to begin applying the new perspective, the reframe, whatever it is we've worked on in the real world. So there's always specific action steps that are unique to that individual. And I'm a stickler for communication. So there's frequent touch points to check in, the accountability, which you know very, very well, to ensure, because the truth is, I want them to continue to go out into the world encountering these triggers. The goal all along is to get them to shift from this automated place of unconscious reaction to a place of conscious response. The only subtle difference there, aside from my word choice, is a moment of pause.
Hmm.
In that pause is an opportunity to choose different, to do different, and ultimately be different. They have now taken back control, not let an outdated belief, fear, or emotion hijack the steering wheel of their decisions, and they can move forward accordingly on their aligned path.
Yes. Oh, I love this. And it takes time, correct? Like this is not an overnight, or maybe you're like to your point, maybe it is sometimes. Maybe somebody needs that final click in button. But would you say most of your clients, this is a bit of a journey?
It's always a journey because, like, let's be candid, all my clients are here for the pursuit of their best selves. You don't get there in a year and call it quits. It's an ongoing journey of a life, hopefully. But I'll tell you this, and I'll use research first. There's this really neat study done, believe it or not, 50 years ago, that looked at all of the available research comparing the impact of traditional therapy versus hypnotherapy. And what researchers found was that on average, the participants participating in traditional therapy experienced a 38% what they called positive impact. Nothing to write home about.
Mhm.
After an average of 600 sessions, which is more than 10 years of weekly therapy.
Wow.
Yeah. So conversely, those in the hypnotherapy group experienced a 93% positive impact. It's an A minus, pretty damn good, after an average of 6 sessions.
What?
Again, I never want to overpromise and underdeliver, but the point is, because we're working at the subconscious level and we're getting into a place where your beliefs can be malleable, there's a lot of opportunity for fast change. And I'll share one more example to drive this home, and I'll pause for a moment. But when we think about, okay, like I understand conscious level work's a little different than deeper unconscious level work. How and why? If you think of your memories, all of the moments in your life you've experienced have shaped you. And when you've had challenges, sometimes traumatic and otherwise, challenging in your own unique right, they lead to the formation of beliefs and behaviors to protect you. Well, if you think of a memory as a Microsoft Word document, in hypnosis, it's like bringing a memory up from unconscious and seeing it as a Microsoft Word document. We can edit it, we can change things, we can diffuse the emotional tone from it. And when we put it back, it's different. And that
Mhm.
positive ripple effect comes up today into the present moment so that your perspective, or as I said earlier, your lens on life
Mhm.
begins to drastically change. So now you see more options about how to respond and behave differently so you can ultimately be different.
I'm plugging this and tell me if I'm wrong, but even into like the trigger type thinking of if somebody was really activated quickly, which led to emotional eating, that if you're able to pull that activation button and simmer it, now it's not such a struggle to like simmer on the emotional eating piece of that. Is that
A
an
thousand
accurate?
percent. You
Okay.
nailed it. Because I always say it. Life is, there's no shortage of triggers. It's not if, it's when. But you're right. A person says something, something happens at work, we're trigger that emotion, that behavior to numb that emotion because we've
Mhm.
lost touch with ourselves kind of as a population, thanks to social media and other quick fix shortcuts. Yeah, you're spot on. So if we can become aware of the trigger, diffuse the emotion, and take that energy to build a better coping mechanism, then we can move forward in a much more productive, positive way.
Do you also find with the hypnotism part that you're discovering, because I always think emotional eating so convoluted, right? Like a lot of people are like stress, tired, whatever. And it's like
Mhm.
it can be so many different, and then all of them together or one at a time.
Yes.
So are you really helping individuals nail those down as well because of like the way you're able to pull things out?
Yeah, because these emotions are learned. Like anxiety, for example, that's a hot buzzword. Many people experience it to different intensities and degrees, but anxiety is a learned feeling, state, and behavior, which means it can be unlearned. Now, anxiety has some protective benefit as well, but that destructive, chaotic, stop me dead in my tracks from doing what I
Mhm.
know I need to be doing anxiety, it's learned. So if we can uncover when, why, and how you learned it and begin to unlearn it and create a sense of safety and identity and not being anxious, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Mhm. Oh my goodness, I agree. I'm
Yeah.
smiling too because I love that you're like, I really need time with people.
Yeah.
Agreed. It was one of my least favorite things going through our dietetic internship. But when we, I'm sure you experienced it in the hospital setting, and you're like
Yeah.
going into a hospital room and instructing somebody and exiting and going, well,
Those
hope
diabetes
that helped.
educations.
Yeah. And then I got introduced into the outpatient setting and this whole idea of getting to have people come back and come back again and get to
Yeah.
follow them through their journey. And I know you know this. I'm saying this for our listeners just because if you go in with the expectation of, I just want a one-on-one and then we'll see where it goes, that's fine. It can introduce you to something as glorious as what Paul has to offer here. But to settle in and build the relationship and get the journey is priceless. It is game changing.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear, are you both one-on-one and program? Like, do you have a course that you work through, or what's that look like in your land?
So, from a nutrition lens, I do very little in this space these days. Funny enough, I'm trying to think how to even tie this. So, 3 years ago, when I was fully exiting the nutrition space, I wrote a book. I wrote 95% of it. I wrote 75,000 words. I viewed it as kind of like pouring my heart, all I've learned over, it was like 13 and a half years at that point, into this book. And I didn't touch it. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. It kind of felt cathartic and therapeutic for me as I fully walked away. Fast forward to today, and one of my coaches about 3 months ago, he noticed that it was kind of still a recurring loop in some of our deep conversations. I still thought about it because I was really proud of it. So he pushed me to finish it. And I kid you not, on my screen is the Amazon KDP page to submit this book. It's called The Sustainable Weight Loss Code, the 61 Laws to Lose Weight and Keep It Off for Good. So that is kind of my bread and butter of the gift to the nutrition community.
Hmm.
I still
Hmm.
have some clients that come to me for mindset and performance coaching because they're stuck in that yo-yo dieting cycle of losing the same 20 and 40 pounds. It's just not my bread and butter anymore.
Well, that's good to know. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about. So the book we cannot currently get our hands on, but soon is what I'm
I mean,
hearing.
gosh, I hope by like today's March 2nd as we're recording this, I would pray by March 5th or 6th, any day now.
Okay, that were released. Yes. Well, congratulations. I have written a book as well, and it is no small feat. It is something, and especially that you let it lay there and then to have to like pick it back up. Good job.
Well,
That is a
thank you. Yeah,
breath of like,
it takes so much longer than you think, and it keeps going and going, but here we are.
yes. Well, congrats. Truly,
Thank
that is
you.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
And if individuals are hearing you and going, I deal a lot with shame, or I deal a lot with like, is there any emotion or any stance that you still couldn't serve? Because now is your bread and butter the hypnosis part? Like, are people coming to you for that, or are you living in more like business land and you're working with more of the business
Yeah,
community?
I work with a lot of like top executives,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, and professional athletes. Still, the hypnosis is my primary modality. It's just the beliefs and behaviors are in a different realm of life versus the nutrition realm of life. But still the same frameworks and approaches. I jokingly say you're not a special snowflake when I talk to my clients. So we're wired the same way. You have your unique problems, but there's a framework, there's a process there that allows us to get to the core of what's holding you back from being the best version of yourself.
Yes, and what I love about that is if we're not a special snowflake, it means that results are equally available to
Yes.
us
Yes.
as they are to them.
Bingo.
Yes. Because how many people do you hear say, I believe it for them, but
Yeah.
mm-mm,
And that's a
right?
direct reflection of what we kicked the conversation off with. That's a way of saying, like, I don't believe I'm worthy, deserving, or
Mhm.
capable. And me, I like to put on my big boy pants, say, like, why? Why do you believe that? Where'd you learn that? How is that true? When have you experienced that? And we dig and we push and we dig and we push and we get somewhere mightily uncomfortable for them that reveals the truth.
Right. Well, and I think for the community, especially today that you're talking to, there is definitely a belief system of I do not have weight loss available to me. I do not have that body, that functioning body, that 80-year-old body,
Yeah.
90-year-old body. Some people don't even believe that they'll still be alive by that point. It's going to work for them. And so then it's to your point, there's work to do, right?
Yeah.
There's deep onion layers to peel back.
Yeah, and really it's about losing the emotional weight 9 times out of 10. Because I have an imagination, 99% of your audience knows what to do. They've probably dieted really successfully at some point in their life. It's the whole weight maintenance piece that's the ongoing issue that persists. And it's really the emotional baggage that needs to be addressed, confronted, and let go of. Because, like I shared earlier, or maybe I didn't this candidly, but like emotion, the literal derivative of that word is just energy and motion. So for the woman listening who's carrying shame, sadness, disappointment, regret, anger, and anything and everything in between, that is literal energy that you are stuffing down. And as listen to my words carefully, you're expending energy every day, just holding on to and repressing those things you don't want to talk about, you don't want to admit or confront. That's exhausting. No wonder you don't have any energy left over to meal prep, to work out, or do whatever you know you need to do to feel your best.
Agreed. And I'm loving that this word and this mental load piece keeps coming up more and more too. And I think you're describing that as well. Like that energy becomes a huge part of the mental load plate
Yeah.
that of course we can't add more on because we
Yeah.
are really weighed down somewhere else. So thank you. You described that a different way. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Just nailed
Yeah.
it. Yes. So, what am I not asking you in this space that we could really benefit from hearing today?
Well, I think the message I always love to say as I've started, getting talking about the book more is just like helping people understand, A, it's okay to ask for help. And again, you can lose weight, feel your best with 15,000 different approaches to nutrition, dieting. I always come back and say most people don't understand that there's two definitions of the word diet. There's the traditional definition we all know, which is to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight. But the more important, unfortunately, secondary definition is a habitual way of eating. Like, Lindsey, if I came to you and said, I follow a plant based diet, you don't automatically assume I'm trying to lose weight. You connect the dots and say, oh, you routinely eat plant based foods. And that's unfortunately, the diet industry is capitalized on the first definition, made
Mm.
billions and billions of dollars, unfortunately, for very sketchy approaches, to say the least. But if you're listening here and you've dieted successfully before, you've lost the weight, you struggle to keep it off, you're struggling to feel your best, focusing on that secondary definition. It's a habitual way of eating, whether you want to eat 3 times per day or 6 times per day, call it a meal versus snack. None of that matters so long as you find an approach that is individualized to you, flexible, and simple to sustain.
Oh my goodness. Amen. Yes. Again, beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to reach out or follow you, keep following you, the book is coming.
Yeah.
What's the best website or places? Do you blog? What are other ways to
Yeah.
follow you?
Absolutely. So Instagram at the Paul Salter. That's the best place. I am there probably more than I should be, but I'm there posting regularly.
Okay.
The book will be on Amazon any day. Like I mentioned, it's called The Sustainable Weight Loss Code, or you can go to the book's website, which is the swlcbook.com.
Awesome. And this will be in the show notes for our listeners to click on. And if you could wrap your arms around our community today, if you heard nothing else out of me, I hope and pray
Mm.
you hear this one thing. What would that look like?
I mean, there's so many good things I want to share because you asked amazing questions. I'll give you all the credit there. Ultimately, for you listening, if what we discussed really resonated with you, what I would want you to take away from our conversation and really chew on is that you are capable of all you desire and you deserve it. The path to get there might feel uncomfortable at times, but it is always worth it in the end.
So good. Thank you so much for joining us today. We got
Yeah.
spoiled.
Well, thank you for the phenomenal questions and energy. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, please come back.